And welcome to the premiere of blogtalkradio.com/megapowers radio. That's Mega Powers Radio. This is our first show that we are ever having, and we are doing a pre-show for the upcoming WWE pay-per-view Payback, which airs tonight. I am Mike Paden, the host of Keeping Kayfabe. Currently joined with me, I have Michael Burhan, host of I Got Gameplay and mainstay of Smack Talk Radio, as well as Keeping Kayfabe. Michael Burhan, what you doing on this wonderful evening? Are you excited for the upcoming pay-per-view?
I'm not doing much. I'm playing Fable 3 because my Father's Day consisted of me getting sleep and the kids going home to their mum. So that's what they did for Father's Day. They left Daddy alone. Oh. But apart from that, you know, got off a huge show yesterday with I Got Gameplay. We talked about E3, so if you guys want to check that out, you can. We're available on Stitcher and Libsyn and all that lot. And literally just been lounging around, you know, waiting for the show to start.
It's fantastic. And as he said, I Got Gameplay, another show that will be joining us here on Mega Powers Radio. You can tune into that on Saturdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on this very same channel. So if you're a fan of video games, certainly check that out. We'll be bringing our brand of humor to that very same topic. And speaking of video games, also joining us, Spoodbeast himself, also a regular on the Smark Out Moment podcast, Braeden Mayhew. How you doing, Braeden? Oh, he's not here right now. He's eating dinner.
I'll talk on behalf of Braeden. He's doing fine, and he's got a mouthful of food.
Do you speak Canadian?
I do. It's kind of like Chinese, but you have to say A with every little sentence.
And lastly, but certainly not leastly, we have Chris Jester, also a mainstay from the Smark Out Moment podcast, and the current leader of the Keeping Kayfabe Smark Out Moment fantasy draft.
How you doing?
Absolutely tremendous. How you doing, Chris?
I'm excited to see my boy CM Punk return at Payback.
Well, it's debatable.
Push my lead even further, you know.
He's going to open up his eyes, and then he'll see the cult personality.
Might not even be the theme we hear tonight, but who knows?
He's going to come out to Kaitlyn's old theme. I'd
pay to see that.
Do you think he's going to wear the same clothes with his, like, man boobs popping out?
Maybe it'll make his arms look stronger.
It probably would be.
That's a good point. Kaitlyn might be able to take Punk.
All right, guys.
Anytime.
Let's start running down the show here. Before we start getting too deep into it, though, first I wanted to tell everyone that you can call in and join the conversation at any point, giving us your thoughts about what will be going down tonight on the show. And you can call in by dialing area code 760-512-7247. That's area code 760-512-7247. You can also join the conversation by the chat box that is also on our Blog Talk Radio page. So, gentlemen, the first match that we should talk about is the one that's happening on WWE's lame excuse for a pre-show, or I believe they're calling it a kickoff now, the WWE Payback kickoff match. Sheamus versus Damien Sandow. Now, over these last few weeks, we've seen Damien Sandow engaging in a number of, I don't want to call them mind games, brain games, I guess we can call them, such as the Gordian Knot and chessboard and various other things, trying to stump Sheamus. And Sheamus usually just gets frustrated and ends up hitting a big boot or something on the Damien Sandow.
It's actually quite funny how Sheamus is actually being the heel in this.
Exactly what I was kind of getting at. Like, it seems more like Sheamus is the big baby heel, which, honestly, he's been doing for a long time now. That's what he was doing with Mark Henry. He couldn't beat him in a tug-of-war, so what does he do? He just lets him go. Like, ha, 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 ha. Look at him. He looks like an asshole.
Ars a lot.
What's that?
He said Ars a lot and called him Ars.
Yeah.
Ars.
Now, I don't know what else on the show could actually be slotted into there, but is this really the worthy match to be in the pre-show slot? I mean, it seems like they could have done something better. Like maybe even like the United States match could have been there. Ambrose and Kane, because that match.
I think Ambrose is he's at that place on the card now where he's always going to be on the shows. He won't be on the pre-shows or anything like that because of the Shield, despite their loss on SmackDown, which it left me scratching my head. It's still a big thing, you know. So he's got to be on a major factor on the card. In terms of the pre-show itself, I don't mind this too much because it at least gives Sandow a legitimate person to face, and elevates him up the card a little bit more. But you are right, it could have been on the pay-per-view instead of on this pre-show. You could have taken anything off of the pay-per-view card and exchanged it with this.
I mean, you say Ambrose is there. I mean, who would have thought Sheamus isn't at that point where he wouldn't be on a pre-match, though?
Yeah, this is a weird situation. I think it's more Sheamus being lowered to get the feud with Sandow working a bit more than having Sandow brought up to Sheamus's level, if that makes sense.
Right.
But I don't see it as a bad thing at all.
Now, does Damien Sandow stand a snowball's chance in hell in this match?
No.
Well, no.
No? All right, so without even having to really go around here, I can guess everyone here is in the belief that Sheamus is going to be winning this match hands down.
It feels like a match where they wanted to give Sandow something to do, but they didn't want to put him on the regular pay-per-view. So he gets the pre-show, and Sheamus needs to win because he's Sheamus.
Shockingly, it's not a Rhodes Scholars match because there's nothing with Cody Rhodes going on in this pay-per-view, it looks like.
That's true. I think with Orton being busy with Bryan, they didn't have a partner for Sheamus to face Rhodes Scholars, and
we couldn't get that great Celtic Vipers team back together.
Nah, that ended 3 weeks late. Yeah.
Yeah, with this, it's one of those things that left a lot of people scratching their heads because they didn't know why this match was happening in the first place. But again, I'm not against it. I think if Sandow excels, they'll probably will have a pay-per-view card match somewhere down the line. So, why not? Why not put it at a pay-per-view that's really just going to be something of a sleeper?
All right, well, then let's move on to the next match here, the first official match listed for the show, and that is that aforementioned Divas Championship match between Kaitlyn, who's been holding that title for a number of months now, and a woman who became the number one contender from a Divas Battle Royal that happened almost 2 months ago, it feels like, AJ Lee. And once again, I feel like it's an overwhelming certainty that we're going to be seeing a new Divas champion coming out of this pay-per-view tonight, just because Kaitlyn has no steam, she has no support, and okay, I'm not going to say she has no talent, but she
her talent has nothing to do with wrestling.
I think it was on SmackDown we were debating whether she's quite possibly the worst Divas champion of all time, and I think it's hard to argue that.
I think
I'm back.
AJ screams star, and she's going to win this match because she's the only relevant thing in the Divas division.
All right, we got Braeden back. Braeden, we were just talking about, we just finished talking about the pre-show match. I don't know if you have anything specific you want to talk about Damien Sandow and Sheamus before we get back into the Divas match.
The only thing I have to say about it is I'm extremely disappointed it didn't make the main card. I mean, there was one time where Sandow could possibly make the main pay-per-view card. Surely it's against Sheamus, of all people.
Exactly.
Even then, he still gets bumped to the kickoff for the show, which you can watch live on YouTube.
I still hate the name of that kickoff.
Yeah, the kickoff, the live kickoff to the pay-per-view. Well, it's not really the live kickoff now, is it? It's not really a part of the pay-per-view.
That's what confused me, too. Yeah, how can a pre-show be okay, I get it, it's just like a pseudonym, but whatever. Anyway, you're pretty confident also that Sheamus is walking away with this. Bro kick out of nowhere, right?
Oh, first here, 100%.
Divas title match we were just starting to talk about, Kaitlyn versus AJ Lee, also feels like a certainty. AJ Lee, or do you have a differing opinion of what's going on here?
No, I think if there's any time to take that title off of Kaitlyn, who's had an immaculate reign as champion that I'm sure tons of people will remember years from now, this is it. I mean, she's held it aimlessly for a long time. At least AJ will do something with it, especially with Dolph having the world heavyweight title. You could do something there. Yeah, it's time to change it. I mean, AJ's probably deserved that title for pretty well close to a year now, so I do not differ against that opinion whatsoever.
It will give us that Edge and Lita moment. Basically.
Yeah, except not on that huge, as grand scale, but similar.
A much better looking woman.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm happy with this, and again, it's about time that this has to happen. I hope they just take Kaitlyn away for a little bit to give her a bit more training. Maybe have it where she's, disgruntled because of the whole boyfriend reveal thing, and have her come back better than ever. Because she is a talent. She's someone that I believe could be a prominent person in the Divas division, but this is not her time. Not now.
Would you say she needs more seasoning? Just needs to basically hone the craft a little more?
Yeah, a little bit more. You know, something to sort of get her out there, make her more of a bona fide star, get her a bit more of a talker. Because at the moment, every time she talks, she just sounds like this half the time, even when she's angry.
Do you guys know who specifically is in charge of training the Divas these days? I know it used to be Finley back in the day.
Yeah, I have no idea now.
Still Finley.
Really?
He was rehired by the WWE ages ago.
Oh, okay.
That's cool.
Because that whole little botch with the armed forces, that
was stupid.
he took the blame, he took his medicine, and then he came back after a couple of months. So kudos to WWE for realizing that it wasn't Finley's fault.
Well, good for him.
I think it's a really telling thing that this is like the first time in a while that anyone could say that they care remotely about a Divas match. I mean,
is it?
We want to see AJ win the title.
Okay.
While Kaitlyn win may not be interesting, AJ's a star. I really feel that way.
Her winning a championship means something, so at least there's something to invest in the Divas actually being on a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
And here's my question now, coming off of that. Who does AJ face next? And for that matter, does she even need to face anybody next? Can she just walk around with that title looking pretty, and that's good enough for her now?
It'd be better if she did have someone to feud with, but she could probably get away with just holding it for a little while.
For the first month she can, yeah. For the first month she can hold it onto the championship and look like she's a bona fide star holding the thing, but she's eventually going to have to defend it.
Why not? Dolph never defends his title.
Yeah, but
you remember that though?
And again, I didn't have an issue with the whole Dolph, not losing the championship and being kept off TV for a little bit. But yeah, well, we can go a bit further into that when we talk about his match.
Absolutely. So we're going to wrap up talk on the Divas match. Just want to remind everybody once again, you can join in the conversation and give your thoughts or predictions for the show that's happening tonight by calling in and joining the show at area code 760-512-7247. That's area code 760-512-7247. Gentlemen, the next title match that we have is for the United States Championship, and this is pitting Shield member Dean Ambrose versus Kane. And I'm going to say this for a number of these matches. Before this past Monday night, this match was not even known as a possibility of being on this card. It's absolutely random. Dean Ambrose recently won the title from Kofi Kingston. Kofi Kingston, unfortunately, had to go out with an injury, so it kind of leaves Dean Ambrose without a direction to go in. But they just randomly threw Kane there because Kane was part of the team that was facing the other members of the Shield. So, hey, that makes sense, right? Sure, it makes sense in some context, but is it going to make people want to buy a pay-per-view?
No. Most people don't buy the pay-per-view for the undercard unless it's like really, really stacked.
Yeah.
Where they actually put like 100% effort into making the whole card seem like it's flowing big time, and even the undercard shows that. Most people buy pay-per-views for main events. They don't buy them for the undercard, which is saying something. But the only thing you can really say about this match is, Kane, he's been feuding with the Shield off and on since December, so I guess he should challenge one of the members for their title. We don't want him in the tag title match, so we can have him challenge for the singles gold. And I mean, all he's going to be doing is just putting Ambrose over, basically just being like his first successful pay-per-view title defense. That's all this is going to be.
Yeah.
What I was
it's
thinking
a good person
about
to have do it too.
Because I started watching SmackDown due to the fact with that conversation we had on Smark Out Moments Smack Talk with myself and Mike Paden about this, and I started looking for the clues to see if Kane was going to turn or if this was going to be Bryan turning. But this could go either way. Bryan could end up costing Kane his United States Championship match, or Kane could end up losing this match and costing Bryan his tag team title match. So a lot can be said out of this and how they build this story.
Yeah, I mean, this pay-per-view has potential. I'm not going to deny that. I'm not going to say that this pay-per-view is a guaranteed dud. But the hype going into it and the excitement is what's missing. And this match is definitely one of the biggest noticeable gaps of that.
Yeah, and on top of that, when you have a pay-per-view, what do they do every 3-4 weeks? There's only some pay-per-views people get overly excited for, and it's kind of like some of the big four, but even then Survivor Series kind of lost some of its luster. It's the pay-per-views that people want to look forward to that they kind of have this hype train built towards, and like WrestleMania always has that every year. It's hard to think. Sometimes SummerSlam, Money in the Bank, I know will probably have a good amount of hype just because it's Money in the Bank. But then you got shows like this that are just right in the middle, like between fall ending and summer beginning. They're just sort of there. And you're going to see a lot of them in the fall where people are just like, yeah, it's just another pay-per-view.
As you said, that dreaded June spot.
Mm-hmm. On top of that, the dreaded cursed June spot that probably hasn't produced a really good must-see show. And, well, me and Paden joked about this before we went on the air, since probably King of the Ring was around. So we'll see.
King of the Ring 2001, I think it would be your best bet.
Yeah.
That's a while back now.
Well,
so.
no, I think that the Great American Bash was a June pay-per-view they had, right? So there might have been a few matches on those that were worth seeing.
Yeah, it was sometimes at the end of June or mid-July. It kind of bounced between the month it was in. Usually it was a July pay-per-view until they made it the Bash, and then it just kind of turned into the end of June pay-per-view.
I like the Great American Bash. I just think their delivery of that pay-per-view was just bad.
It should have had. I mean, first off, they should never gotten the Great American. I mean, I figured that's the reason they brought it back anyway. First off, I always thought it was odd of all the WCW pay-per-views they brought back, it was the Great American Bash, which just seems like such an obscure one to pick out of all of them. But
well, you get the patriotic, we're an all-American company, and this is going to happen in July 1st, an American Bash.
Exactly. Vince, if nothing else, loves Americana. And I figured that's got to be why he brought it. And then they decided just to drop the American part of it and just make the Bash. Well, what the heck is the point? And if you're going to call it the Bash, shouldn't it be party themed still? Like, couldn't it be a summer party type deal since SummerSlam has kind of lost being that summer party and it's become Hollywood type thing? Maybe the Bash could be that summer party. Maybe you could have like a volleyball court and sand in the entranceway or something like that.
And then on top of that, SummerSlam kind of tries to balance the two of them of being that Hollywood show, but at the same time, we're still a summer party, and it's kind of like a mix-up between two different themes going on, mainly because of the stadium it's in. I mean, it just happens, it's always in Los Angeles every year since 2009. But, this is the pay-per-view before the actual summer pay-per-views get going, so it's like that post-Mania slowdown, even worse than the last pay-per-view sort of spot. It's not an enviable pay-per-view spot, that's for sure, but as I said, we can't really judge it until it happens.
Anyone see anything special happening through this other than just a pure Dean Ambrose victory?
Oh, no.
I think you get a good match out of the two of them. Kane can work with anybody, and Dean's obviously very talented. So you'll get a solid, at least an average match. It'll be
Daniel Bryan coming out of this and turning on Kane, but again, that's all just expectation at this point.
I think if Bryan does anything heelish, it's going to be in his own match. I don't know if he'll run down and intentionally.
If we're going to talk about him turning, isn't it that the most stupid ass?
It is
dumb move you could possibly do with
somebody. He won't get booed. He won't.
Who's super over. I mean, the crowd could not be any more in the palm of his hand. You're just going to turn him heel? Why? There's no point in that.
Especially in a smart town like Chicago.
And they're not going to boo him. They're just not. I mean, if you had Orton, and I'm sure we're going to get to this match. Yeah, when we talk about that, I'm sure they would boo him more for attacking Bryan than vice versa.
I think Orton's going to turn heel. I don't think Bryan is. I can't see. I think if we do see Bryan and Cena, it'll be them as both faces.
That's how it should be. Let the fans choose who they want to cheer.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we all know who they're going to choose.
Yeah, especially in Philadelphia. So,
I think the issue though with that is Cena doesn't like anyone getting over him, basically.
Cena's good with Bryan. He's one of the reasons Bryan got his job back in the first place.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
So I don't think he'll have a huge qualm with it. He's the man. He's got it all. There's nothing. Bryan going over one time isn't going to hurt John Cena. And I don't even know if Bryan beats Cena for the title. If they feud, Bryan maybe looks good. Maybe he takes the world title off Ziggler. Maybe they fight. Maybe those two face off at WrestleMania. I don't think Bryan beats Cena necessarily, but Bryan will face Cena just because that's a really big match right now. That's probably the main match people want to see right now.
And just someone like Bryan going in the ring and hanging with John Cena, being in a big competitive match with him, makes it look good enough.
There's something to say for John Cena when he's in hostile crowd situations and big match situations. He always gives his A game. And when you've got someone like Daniel Bryan,
he got him competing against Daniel Bryan. So
that's going to be a good match.
Cena on his best night, when he wants to put on a great title match against Daniel Bryan, I think that has all the makings for a match of the year candidate for sure. If it happens, I'm hoping it does. Because it's new. I think they've had a few matches on TV that weren't really anything special. Probably a rushed main event that lasted about under 8 minutes. They haven't had an actual program, so I'm all for it if that's the direction they decide to go after this pay-per-view. For sure.
Well, let's not get too into potential matches. Let's go into another match that is on the Payback card tonight, and that is a triple threat for the Intercontinental Championship. It is Wade Barrett versus The Miz versus Curtis Axel. Now, Curtis Axel originally was not in this match. It was originally Fandango in that slot, but he had one of the dreaded concussions that we've been seeing raining down upon WWE superstars lately. So he was taken out of this match, and Curtis Axel this past Monday Night on Raw was slotted in with the help of Paul Heyman, of course. So really changes the dynamic of this match. I mean, I'm pretty sure up until that moment, everyone was pretty sure Fandango was a lock for becoming the new IC champion. Now, I mean, obviously that's not going to happen, but now it seems like it's a lock for still a new champion, but not Fandango, Curtis Axel.
I disagree with that. I think the fact that it's a triple threat match and Axel doesn't have to be pinned, I think that you can see a situation where Barrett or Miz win the match, and then when Fandango returns, he faces one of them, because Axel seems to be tied up with Triple H and other things. And if you put the IC title on Axel, when Fandango does come back, who does he feud with? Not Axel.
But I think you need, at this point in time, he's white hot. So you could make a case in point argument now that it would probably be the best in WWE's best interest to give him the championship now and see if he can mirror his father's reign as IC champion.
I think
he doesn't have that much longevity back on TV, though, since he's repackaged. I mean, he's been around, like, a month? That's it? And they're just going to give him the IC title? I could, go ahead.
There's an easy opening for them to have Triple H come out and distract Axel out of the situation and have one of the other guys win the match. It does not make Axel look bad at all.
That's a very good point.
There is no scenario where Axel can look bad if Triple H is the reason that Axel's not even involved in the pinfall decision. He does not have to be anywhere near that fall. Barrett and Miz are at it. One of them wins, doesn't matter who, and then Fandango deals with them when he gets back. Axel's only in the match because they advertised the triple threat match, and they needed someone on even footing with Fandango's overness. And Axel's a good fit in that situation. People who are interested in Curtis Axel will watch the match. Now, there's definitely a possibility he's going to win, but I don't think he's a lock at all. There's plenty of situations where Axel couldn't win, and I wouldn't be surprised.
No, you convinced me otherwise. Up until, like I just said, I would have sworn it was a lock. You've made a very compelling argument that it's not a lock. I'm convinced now maybe there is a chance. My only worry is if they do still decide to go with him, maybe it's because Fandango had his chance, and sure, he didn't do it on purpose, but maybe the concussion caused him to miss it. We've seen this happen in wrestling tons of times before.
I think in the same level here, if Fandango can easily get that chance back, it doesn't mean that he's never going to get the championship opportunity again. It just means that he won't get it at this point in time. We've seen with constant guys how sometimes there's been a situation where a guy's been knocked out of an opportunity and then gotten it again, So I'm not worried at all if this is a blown opportunity or a lost opportunity for Fandango. I believe he will get his chance, but I just don't think at this point in time he will.
Braeden, you were trying to fit. Okay, you were just doing it again. Go ahead.
I don't know. I definitely see the title changing hands, and it's way more convoluted than I originally thought when Fandango was still in the match, because I was clearly going with him to win the title. He recently passed, Impact testing, right? Like he was cleared, he was fine.
Yeah, he was declared good enough to wrestle on Impact.
Yeah. So I could see them giving the title to Curtis Axel just for no other than, we're giving him a decent amount of a push. Let's put a belt on him. That might make him go farther, for sure. Or they could, if he can't, Fandango can't come back and for this match at all. Because I was thinking maybe they pull some sort of swerve where they turn it into a fatal four-way at the last minute, and you have no idea about it until the match happens, and he still comes back and wins the title tonight, and nobody has any idea about it. Then you still get the same conclusion we all thought. But if you can't, you could put it on somebody like The Miz, who maybe has another day or a week title reign to add to his belt. That's always fun. He could eventually lose it to Fandango as well. I for whatever reason, just do not see Wade Barrett retaining the championship tonight at all.
Why is that? Is he moving on to greener pastures, or is he just a failed champion? He's just going to fall back to obscurity?
I would hope he's going for greener pastures. As a fan of him, I would hope that. But if he doesn't do anything of note after losing the championship, it's because he was just kind of that guy with the IC title. He never really did anything with it. So let's just give it to somebody else who might be more interesting or whatever whatever they think. I hope it's for bigger and better purposes, but if he does nothing of note after this, nobody should be surprised at this point.
All right, so let's go around because I think we all may have differing opinions on this. I'm still going to go with Curtis Axel as the person I think is going to win this match. It just seems like, as Burhan was saying, he's red hot at the moment. You got to strike with it. Same thing as we're saying with like a guy like Daniel Bryan. You got to take advantage of it when it's time, and I think it's just time to give Curtis Axel that mid-card title. And I forget who said, I think it was Braeden or maybe it was Jester who was talking about him potentially showing the same reign that his father had. That would be wonderful to see. Have him carry that same title that his father made so prestigious back in the 90s. So, Burhan, go ahead. What's your thoughts?
As I said, I believe that he's going to win this. There's not going to be any other way around this. I think Axel, they need to strike while the iron's hot, and hopefully he will hold on to the championship for a meaningful reign and bring some prestige back to the title, because at the moment, the title's just in limbo.
Yeah.
Braeden?
Yeah, if we're just going on basic advertisements, swerves aside, random stuff being thrown on at the last minute, I have to go with the title change, and I will say Curtis Axel will win the championship. If I absolutely have to choose a option for the winner of this match, just based on advertisements alone, I think it's a good bet that the title changes hands to him tonight.
Jester?
I feel like The Miz is probably going to be the one to walk out with it. I just, especially if Fandango passed the impact test already, he's not far off from coming back. I don't want them to hotshot the belt on Axel because he's hot right now, and then have him lose it because they insisted on having it on Fandango. Axel's in a good place with Triple H right now, and the IC title's almost a downgrade at the point it's at now. So I think more likely Miz wins the championship. Would not be shocked at all if Axel won. Would not be shocked at all if they just were like, keep it on Barrett. Wouldn't be shocked at all. But I'm going to lean with The Miz. I think that's my prediction. If you held a gun to my head and said pick one, I'd say The Miz.
I think this might be the match that is most in the air of what can happen with it.
Mainly because of all the changes done to it.
Yeah, exactly. When it was Fandango, it was an easy pick. Fandango was going to take it. And now it's hard to say.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to our next match. But before we do that, I just want to remind everyone once again that you can call in and join the conversation at any point by calling in 760-512-7247. That's area code 760-512-7247. Give your thoughts about the show, your predictions on what may come out in all the matches tonight. And even if you just want to throw some questions or shoot a rant about something else going on in your mind, you're welcome to come onto the show and talk about it with us. Next match we got, guys, is for the WWE Tag Team Champions. We're going to see who the Tag Team Champions is, and it's currently Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns of The Shield going against Randy Orton and Daniel Bryan. This is another one of those matches that, up until Monday night, had no idea that it was going to be on the card. Vicky Guerrero threw it together at the last minute, and she decided to randomly pair together Daniel Bryan and Randy Orton because they're having hard times. Let's see if these two goofy people can make it together.
Did you just say it was for the Tag Team Champions of the World? So I had to.
Yes, I did. It's for 2 copper pennies.
I wish Chris Dace was here to talk about hard times.
For me, I see this as a win-win situation at the moment in terms of the Shield. It gives Rollins and Reigns a bigger competitor to sort of work with in terms of Orton. But with Bryan, there's been a lot of rumor in regards to Bryan possibly, starting a feud with Orton, turning heel here. I think this also could be the perfect idea of getting Orton to become that person and turn heel with Bryan. So we'll see how this happens. I think Bryan and Orton are going to be leaving, leaving this feud. It's going to be a one-time thing. I see the Shield winning here, and it's going to end up being because of either Bryan or Orton costing the other the match.
So I think we could just skip ahead. I think everyone's going to be in favor that the Shield is going to be walking out with a victory in the tag titles, yes?
For sure.
Absolutely.
I think the thing that we could debate here, as we started earlier, what's going to happen? How is this going to go down? And I think the big question is, who do people think is going to turn heel? Is it going to be Bryan? Is it going to be Orton? Is it going to be both? Is it going to be neither?
Is it finally going to be the night where Orton turns heel and gets out of this boring robot funk?
I hope it's Orton, because you should not turn Bryan. That makes absolutely no sense. And in this town, this would be a place where they would boo Orton.
I think they know this. And I think they know. I think they know that they need to have big things happen for this pay-per-view to be remembered, and Orton finally turning heel would be one of those things.
Would they boo Orton, or would they just shout boo earns?
Would they what? What did you say?
Would they boo Orton, or would they shout boo earns?
I would say boo earns.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are joined by the host of Smack Talk on Smark Out Moment. It is Anthony Mango joining us here in the middle of the show. Anthony, how's it going? Happy Father's Day.
I don't think I have a kid anywhere, but thank you for the Happy Father's Day.
You're in Taiwan.
Don't you know about Ming Ming Mango?
Ming Ming Mango?
Wow.
That would be
I
awful.
think instead of having a baby hand, you have a toe. It's a little toe mango.
It's orange.
Tony.
Oh, nice.
How's it going, everybody?
Absolutely tremendous. So we were just talking about the WWE Tag Team title match. We pretty much inferred that everyone here is thinking that the Shield is walking out, but we are debating how is that going to go down. And essentially it is Randy Orton turning heel, Daniel Bryan turning heel, neither turning heel, maybe some other outside shenanigans.
John Cena turning heel and then breaking his car.
Orton has to. I mean, come on.
That's what we've all been saying, because, I mean, this is the perfect type of crowd, the perfect guy he could ditch or whatever in a tag match, in order that he could get booed perfectly fine, and that it would translate well because it was on pay-per-view, and it would make it seem like a big deal. I don't think you're going to get a better setting than this to turn him bad.
Yeah, even
and turning
though
Bryan would be a horrible mistake.
Even though Bryan's not the Chicago's favorite son kind of thing like CM Punk is, he's going to get a great reaction. And if Orton turns heel against him on here, then he's going to get that boo that they really need to jumpstart his heel turn.
Is there any possible way, I mean, any possible way, if they did want to turn Daniel Bryan heel, that they can get that accomplished tonight?
Not tonight.
Not here, and not now.
Chicago.
Could they have a screwy finish that just has the match go down and finish the way they wanted to, and then have it happen tomorrow night on Raw, based on what happened?
Yeah, but it would still be, I think, a terrible, terrible mistake. It's like, let's turn him heel.
It's going to take time for Bryan to turn heel if it happens at all. He's going to have to really work at it, and it's going to have to be a month-long thing where he's constantly coming out and trying to make them hate him. They're not going to hate him at first no matter what he does. What could he do to make them immediately boo him? They can't.
I don't think it makes any sense to make him like a heel at all. Not now. Not on this level.
Idea. He could run over Santa Claus.
I would cheer that.
Short of if CM Punk shows up tonight and he interferes in the match, causing CM Punk to lose, I think that's the only thing Daniel Bryan could do to get guaranteed boos that night. And even then, I don't know.
He had no reason to do that too. So
yeah.
I don't. Yeah.
Maybe he'll bring up, like, remember that time in Ring of Honor when you did this to me? Like, they'll have to go really far back to figure that one out.
Ring of what?
Yeah. Hi, Cole Cabana. How you doing?
Yeah.
I don't think that they could do it tonight. I don't think there's any possible way. I think even if you did that with CM Punk, you'd get people that, now that CM Punk is currently going into this, at the very least, somewhat a heel, then they're going to think that he's just kind of defending the baby faces.
That's a good point.
I don't think there's any way they can do it. Well, I think that they can do it. I don't think that they can do it successfully.
So what is Randy Orton's motives, and what would he exactly do to make him turn heel? I mean, is he just going to maybe lose the match and then just RKO out of nowhere on Daniel Bryan?
I think he'll be reaching for a tag, and he'll just leave him high and dry. And then he'll have to come out and explain why he did it. He'll probably give some sick of doing what people want him to do, sick of not being the champion, sick of being saddled with tag matches, sick of dealing with people like Daniel Bryan, sick of this, sick of that.
Sick of being buddies with Sheamus.
Typical heel stuff. Yeah.
He's
not a nice
Show.
guy. He's not a nice guy. The Big Show thing is a big one.
I think it sounds like Christopher Walken there. He's not a nice guy.
He's not a nice guy.
He doesn't wear white hats.
He said once, I'm just kicking different people in the head now.
This is the same babyface who said he'd RKO his own grandmother to win a championship.
Yes.
Right? During his babyface run.
Yes.
He's going to RKO Brodus Clay's mom.
But yeah, Bryan should just fight back awesomely. Be going for the huge big tag that everybody thinks is going to happen. Orton says nope, leaves. Bryan tries to fight back on his own, ends up losing because he's outnumbered. And then you could have, as Jester said, have Orton come out and explain himself the next night, and I think that could work pretty well.
Or have him come out and not explain himself and just say he has no explaining to do because he's.
Or he just goes around punting people again.
Yeah. I don't see this as a win situation for Bryan. I think it will start off a small feud or a mini feud with Orton, and then have it go towards something else. Because as far as I'm concerned, as Tony just stated, the obvious is Bryan. There is no way to make Bryan a plausible heel in this situation, but there is a very easy way to make Orton the plausible heel, and Orton's been begging for this for ages. So why not? Why not give him the feud?
All right, guys, listeners, I want to introduce you to another host who is just joining us, my co-host on Keeping Kayfabe and the host of Sportaholics Anonymous Radio. We have Brandon Liggan. Brandon, thanks for joining us. What's shaking, dude?
Not much. Fashionably late as always. Thanks to Mariano Rivera nearly blowing a save for the Yankees.
But the Yankees did win.
They won. Yeah, they both blew a 6-run lead in the 9th inning, but they still won.
So we were just wrapping up talk about the tag team title match between The Shield and Randy Orton and Daniel Bryan. Now, we all pretty much said it's a guarantee that The Shield is walking out. What we were mostly debating was what's going to happen as far as between Randy Orton and Daniel Bryan. What's your thoughts on what could go down this night?
Well, I think absolutely The Shield is going to win because it just makes no sense to put the tag team belts on them and then take it off of them a month later. That just makes no sense whatsoever. I think they're going to work Orton as the primary heel, I think, in this match. And if anyone's turning heel, it's probably going to be him because I just think no matter what Bryan does at this point, he has so much clout or built up with fans and his own fans from even his Ring of Honor days that still watch WWE. They're going to cheer him no matter what. So I think it just makes sense to turn Orton heel, turn the little kids that, became his fans over these last 4 or 5 years against him and just start over with him, I guess.
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to wrap up talk with the tag team title match. We're going to move into the last 3 matches. Before we do that, just want to remind everyone you can call in and join the conversation by dialing in 760-512-7247. That's area code 760-512-7247, and also in the chat box on blogtalkradio.com/megapowersradio. And also, after the conclusion of the show, if you want to continue the conversation with us, you can join us in the chat box, which will be on smarkoutmoment.com. You go down there, and there'll be a little chat box in the lower right, and you'll find some of us hosts still chatting in there throughout the entire show all evening. So, we got 3 matches left here. The first one I want to talk about is for the World Heavyweight title, and that is Dolph Ziggler going against Alberto Del Rio. Now, Del Rio won his #1 contendership at Extreme Rules by winning the ladder match with Jack Swagger, which was originally supposed to be for the title, but that was when Dolph Ziggler got his concussion. We've been talking a lot about concussions taking people out of matches, and now we're finally getting this match taking place. I got to say, for a while, I honestly thought it was guaranteed Ziggler was winning this, but maybe it's not so guaranteed. Maybe there is a chance Del Rio can walk away with this, and I don't know why. I don't know what's leading me to think that, but they do really like Del Rio. My question is, what would Ziggler's future with this title be? Where does he go with it?
See, if they turn Orton heel, I had originally thought that they were going to do Orton and Ziggler, but I don't really necessarily know who would challenge Dolph Ziggler next because the whole problem is Money in the Bank is going to include a lot of people in the ladder matches. I still think that they're going to do 2.
Yes.
If they don't do 2, then it kind of opens up a lot of different possibilities. But I don't know. I can't see Del Rio winning here. I think if Del Rio wins, not only do you kill Dolph Ziggler's main event spot for the foreseeable future, but what does he gain out of it? Nobody's going to really care that Del Rio won. He's not going to be able to take anything into the championship with any kind of steam or anything like that. I mean, it's going to be almost the same as when the champion wasn't there for a month. So I think they have to have Ziggler retained no matter who he faces, even if he has another rematch that is horrible against Del Rio at Money in the Bank, and then they finally start building up a program at SummerSlam. I don't think that there's any way getting around Ziggler retaining here, just even if it's a mercy retain.
Now, if Orton goes heel and he needs someone to work with, he could be someone they could always slot in with John Cena. Not that I'm looking to see that match happen again, but it's not like he'll be at a loss for someone to go up against if they need him to challenge for a title. It needs to be a babyface.
Yep.
But
you mentioned them turning John Cena heel and doing Cena Orton again. You have to think that when did they do? How long ago? That was at least 5 years ago, right?
2009. Well, I don't know when the last time we saw it, but 2009 is when we saw it every freaking month.
It was like 4 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, so there's a whole new generation of wrestling fans that are just coming into it that maybe have not watched don't watch that match. So for a younger audience, because again we have to think that this is geared to a younger audience.
Mm-hmm.
They'll do that again because they haven't seen it before. They're not going to do it the same way, obviously, because now it's PG. And they're just I could absolutely see them putting Cena and heel Orton together.
Yeah,
he is a fresh commodity, so it doesn't make sense taking the world heavyweight title off him just to they could have Alberto Del Rio, Randy Orton. Doesn't make sense.
Right. Yeah. As much as I'd like to see Alberto win the title and help me out some more, I don't think they'll take the belt off Ziggler. Ziggler missed all this time, and he needs to regroup, re-get that steam. And it's easy for Ziggler to have a screwy retain against Del Rio and to keep Del Rio relevant. He has AJ, got Big E. There's plenty of avenues for them to go with to have Ziggler keep the belt. And Del Rio could enter a feud with Big E because Big E cost him his title rematch.
And then they have another Best of 11 series.
Yeah.
That number gets bigger every time we talk about it.
They've had some okay matches, though. Big E, yeah. I made fun of him before, but Big E's not a slouch. He's got some talent for a big guy.
He's definitely been showing his chops.
Yeah, especially those that like to eat food all the time.
Yeah, especially his pork chops.
Lamb chops.
His burgers.
What is this? Burhan mentioned this. What is it about him eating food? I don't understand. Is he posting pictures of food all the time?
No, every time they have like an interview with him, he's eating food.
Yeah.
It's a running joke they've had. Like, if you watch any of those WWE backstage things they have on YouTube, like the Raw Fallout or whatever.
The inbox and all that.
Yeah. Every time they go to interview him, he's like, "What do you bother me for? Can't you see I'm eating?" And he'll have, like, ham. He'll just be eating slices of cold-cut ham.
Well, on SmackDown, they actually had him grabbing Teddy Lawton's burger and having a munch.
Funny. Him and Ryback could get into an eating contest and then a rivalry. There you go.
Oh, they're actually giving it a build, too.
There you go. Exactly. Perfect.
So, just go around. Well, let's make this nice and easy. Pretty much everyone here thinks Dolph Ziggler is getting this tonight. Is that correct?
Yeah. I don't know why anyone thinks it's going to be a bad match. I think these two are very, very good in the ring. I think they could put off something pretty good. If not even a great match. I think this is one to look for in terms of maybe a sleeper of the night. I don't think it's going to be horrible.
I think it'll be solid. I just don't know if it's going to be special.
Both guys can work. It'll be decent. It won't be, I can't see a bad match out of Alberto and Dolph.
There's absolutely no way it's going to be a bad match.
I don't see a bad match out of either.
But talking about what Dolph does after this, as Jester pointed out, if there is some sort of fluky finish that makes Del Rio look like, oh, he could have won the title, but he didn't, they could easily push this program another pay-per-view because it skipped Extreme Rules. So it's being delayed a month, so you can continue it for another month if they were going here anyway. From Extreme Rules to Payback, you go from Payback to Money in the Bank easily.
This is their first real one-on-one match that they've had because he beat him when he was all beat up in like a 4-minute match, and then Swagger interrupted the 5 minutes into the match they had on Raw, and then he was hurt before the triple threat happened. This is the first time they've actually faced each other for real. So, like, they could actually extend this a couple months, and no one would really feel like, oh, it's overdone. I'm sick of Ziggler and Del Rio. And when the matches are good, you also don't complain as much, even if both the guys have fought each other a bunch of times.
Orton Christian.
Yeah, that's a great example. Del Rio and Ziggler will be fine. It probably will go another couple months at least. And I think a really good theme of this pay-per-view is while we said earlier the build hasn't been great. They didn't advertise very well. Every one of the matches we've talked about is like solid people against solid people. I don't think any of the matches are actually going to be bad, except for maybe Cena Ryback, and since that's a gimmick match, that could be saved by the fact that it's a gimmick match. Like, I think Cena could probably carry Ryback to a passable gimmick match. So, Yeah, it should be an okay pay-per-view. It can't be that bad. When you've got Kane and Dean Ambrose and all the guys in the tag title match can work, and Ziggler Del Rio, you know, you got plenty of room for a decent card.
All right. Well, I guess that's all the talk we have for that match. Hold on one second. Let me take care of this here. All right.
Okay.
So, taking care of business, working overtime, workout. And someone who's not been working overtime, let's talk about a match that may or may not happen. We have Chris Jericho taking on a possibly returning, CM Punk. Now, this match happened when Chris Jericho had Paul Heyman brought on to the highlight reel, and out of nowhere, he decided he's going to call out CM Punk, saying that he's not around, so who is he to call himself the best in the world? And this set up this match where Paul Heyman vouched as the agent for CM Punk, saying, okay, this match is on. And here we are.
Donkey Kong.
It's on like Donkey Kong. It's
on like
let's bro
Kong.
down. Let's bro down. Yeah. First off, who thinks CM Punk is returning and who thinks he's not? Let's go around the horn.
I think he's returning. Very much so. If you're advertising a match for pretty much just as long as the 3 stages of Hell, and it's basically being built up as your co-main event. It was one of only 2 matches for the longest time, and it's in Chicago. I don't see how he could not be in the building ready to compete tonight. I do not see them pulling that kind of a bait and switch.
All right, before anyone else gets in there, I just want to welcome on. We also have another man joining us on the show. We have Mr. Chris Dace, also a regular from the Smack Talk show. Chris, welcome to the show.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Tremendous. How you doing, man?
I am doing Dace-tacular.
We were just talking about CM Punk versus Chris Jericho. Are you expecting a return for CM Punk tonight?
Absolutely. It's in Chicago. There's no way he wouldn't be in his hometown just to get that cheap pop.
Yeah, but is he going to compete, though? That's the one thing. I would not be surprised if he shows up and then says, well, I didn't agree to this. You're speaking without my consent. You didn't really inform me of this. You just expected me to be there. I think Punk is enjoying his vacation and probably really isn't ready to come back yet. He seems to be having a pretty good time, hanging out, watching hockey games, watching UFC fights, and, being away from the ring for a while.
You think he's going to come in and have one of those, like, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, you're cool, fuck you, I'm out moments?
Maybe. I could definitely see him maybe starting some kind of feud with Paul Heyman because of it. And I think was it you, Paden, that put the idea in my head that this could build towards Brock and Punk? I mean, that would just do something to even more.
Mixed Venture came up with that idea.
That was kind of on my suggestion of having Jericho turn on Punk and side with Heyman, and that could lead into a feud. But also many have been thinking that this, Punk coming in and saying, no, I never agreed to this, could turn into the feud as well. There's a load of ways they could go with this.
Let me ask this. Say Punk does show up in that scenario you just said does happen. He doesn't wrestle, but he says, hey, I'm here, but you know what? I didn't agree to this match. Who are you to put me into this? I'm not taking part in this. See ya. How would the crowd in Chicago take that? I mean, pretty much anywhere else, I would say he'd get booed. But would Chicago, his hometown that would love him almost no matter what, would they be able to boo him?
They'd boo him.
They would boo him.
They would boo him. He is supposed to be coming back to his hometown, and he tells them that they're not worth him wrestling. Not even just telling Paul Heyman. He's saying he's not gonna do it. He's not gonna wrestle in front of them. They'd lose it. They would be so passionate and angry, and that is why it won't happen. Because if they plan on turning him face to feud with Lesnar, he cannot come out there and do such a heelish act, coming out in your own hometown and your supposed return and saying, I'm not wrestling in front of you. Bye-bye.
It's not Chicago that he's getting mad at. He's getting mad at Heyman for booking this match without his consent. I would think if he was going to actually wrestle Jericho, he would have made an appearance on Raw leading up to it to build it up himself.
Well, the point is he's supposed to come back at the pay-per-view. That's what makes it exciting.
That's
he's going to come back in Chicago.
It's a pay-per-view return. They've been done many, 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 many times before, where somebody's been missing in action, then they come back for their return match, and it's at a pay-per-view, so it's a bigger deal. I don't think they'd be advertising it for this long, and you expect for him not to show up. It's the second most hype match on the pay-per-view card. I can't see him not showing up.
And you know what? It's kind of one of the selling points. Mm-hmm. And if people don't get CM Punk, you're going to get a lot of people that, even if it kind of works with the angle of like, oh, but he's a heel and all that, people are going to send WWE complaint letters and be like, yo, what the fuck? Come on, I bought it for CM Punk. And it's the whole
card subject to change.
But if he shows up, though, they're still getting CM Punk. That's why if he shows up and they do like a 5 to 10 minute talking segment, they're still getting their CM Punk. And then it depends very big on what they do with it. If that's it and they just drop it, no good. But if they can find another suitable opponent to go in there against Chris Jericho, if it's Brock Lesnar, I think that's a worthy fill-in.
Oh, yeah,
I don't think people can complain about wanting to see CM Punk, seeing him for only 10 minutes and then getting a free Brock Lesnar match you weren't expecting.
I don't think I'm going that far at all. Not for Payback.
Have Lesnar and Jericho ever faced each other? Doing that out of the blue with no, like,
hype
advertising, anything? I don't think they've ever fought each other one-on-one.
I couldn't tell you.
I don't think they did. I started watching around when Brock was really big. I don't remember Lesnar ever facing Jericho. So doing that match as a first-time match out of nowhere, can't see it.
Yeah, I would say that match has happened because Lesnar was a SmackDown guy and Jericho was a Raw guy.
Lesnar left for
very unlikely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. So I mean, what if it's not like? What if say they have Curtis Axel come out and do double duty, or I don't know, maybe Paul. I believe someone mentioned the name Brad Maddox at one point.
Yeah.
I think people are going to be pissed if it's Brad Maddox, but if it's Axel, I don't know. I don't think it'll be Axel though.
If the triple threat happens first and Axel doesn't really do anything because of what we were talking about earlier with Triple H coming out, then he comes out and faces Jericho instead because he didn't win the IC title. That maybe. That's the most believable thing we've talked about.
They already put it on television, though, on SmackDown, no less.
Oh, that happened on SmackDown? I don't watch SmackDown.
It didn't have sort of a story finish, though?
Yes, it did, but he still won. Still part of his winning streak. They already seen him beat Jericho. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Already happened on TV.
That seems to be how he wins all of his matches, so...
I think Punk comes back the most likely, but I could see the Axel thing. Lesnar seems like way out there, and Punk coming out and saying he's not going to wrestle, even if he's just doing it because he doesn't want to do it for Heyman. Like when he left Heyman, he hugged him and all that stuff. He didn't spit at Heyman and leave. You know, he was he looked like a broken down man because he couldn't beat the Undertaker, and then he hugged Heyman goodbye and left. And then Heyman said Punk's coming back. I can't see Punk coming out and being like, fuck you, Heyman, and then fuck you, Chicago, and then just leaving. That doesn't seem like
it either.
Something he would do.
Not doing that. Well, not doing that, but just saying, I didn't agree to this, what are you doing? And then Brock Lesnar comes out, maybe he starts to raise his voice a little bit to Heyman. Then, Brock Lesnar comes out, F5, and that will set up the match for SummerSlam.
That's a good one.
Exactly. I mean, this is Brock Lesnar versus CM Punk is not a match. Is too big of a match for Money in the Bank. So this is going to have a little bit longer of a build if they do that. That's a SummerSlam quality match.
Lesnar ain't working anything less than SummerSlam next.
I still see a more logical perspective on this, that Punk could come out and do that, but then have Jericho attack him. Because I've got a funny feeling that Jericho's plotting something with Heyman. That's the way I see it.
I don't see Jericho really committing to any really long-time storyline. I think Jericho's really just there to work with whoever they want him to work with to see if the guy could really work out. Guys like your Fandangos, maybe even when they bring them up, what's his name? The Wyatt family.
Jericho as a heel doesn't seem very likely when he's in these short little sporadic appearances.
Yeah, he's in the twilight of his career. He's enjoying probably being a face, sort of. So
it's almost like if they turn The Rock heel or something. Not that big, but it'd be weird. It'd be like, why would you turn? What's the point of turning The Rock heel? What's the point of turning Jericho heel? He won't be there long enough for it to really get any steam. He'll leave and he'll be back for Money in the Bank, and he'll be back for SummerSlam. He'll be back for the Rumble. He's not gonna be doing this every week. I can't see him coming out, hitting Punk after Punk gets in Heyman's face and turning heel. That seems cool. I'd go, oh, that's neat, but I don't really see them going that. That seems too complicated for WWE to do now. I don't know. It seems like a reach.
All right, guys, we got one final person joining us in here on the show. I'm going to bring him in. It's Mr. Stephen Hatch. I'm going to get his opinion on this match. We're going to go around the horn, and then we're going to move on. Hatch, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. And
what's up, dude?
I heard some interesting theories just now. I like Brandon's about Brock Lesnar beating up CM Punk. And I love the idea. I mean, like I said, I would love the idea if Jericho turned heel, but you guys made a great point. It seems like if they would have turned him heel, I think they would have turned Jericho heel a little bit before. The Jericho fan in me, I want him to be the Jericho that he was when he was like the world champion, wearing the suit. I love that Jericho, and I would love for that to come back, but, I don't think it's going to happen. Do I think CM Punk is going to wrestle tonight, though? I don't think so. I think they're going to have some kind of storyline, and it's looking like the Brock Lesnar one. It's going to happen, I would say.
Chris Jericho, I believe Braeden refers to him as the gelatinous parasite. Chris Jericho.
Big words, Jericho.
The problem with Jericho has always been one of my favorites, but, I mean, in this return, it's not really been, it's kind of been like he's been like kind of a waste. He's not really doing anything. He's just kind of there.
Even the return itself was just out of nowhere. Like, he just randomly was like, he's at the Royal Rumble. Cool.
You could arguably say that was more effective, though, because nobody knew he was going to be showing up, so it was a hell of a surprise.
Absolutely. I mean, it was different. I mean, he always makes something different with every return, so yes, it was. But when you compare it to the other returns, there wasn't as much hype going into it. Just as like this, there's not as much hype going into anything he's doing. It's just kind of happening. It's like, there's Jericho again.
And you know what we say? We're like, well, he's only here for there and there. But, he's been on, like, every Raw and every SmackDown. And every time I look at house show results, he's on it a lot of the time.
Yeah, he's by no means on a rock schedule.
Yeah. I mean, the guy's still in fantastic shape, and he looks young. I mean, he's in his 40s, but the guy could easily pass for early 30s.
He looks young because he doesn't spend much time with his wife.
Chris States, what do you think is going to happen tonight? Chris States?
Sorry, what was that?
What do you think is going to be happening tonight in the CM Punk Chris Jericho match?
I think he's going to come back. I think he's going to lose to Jericho, get upset, and then Monday night we see an explosion between him and Heyman. So I think it's the beginning of a face turn for him and building towards the Brock Lesnar CM Punk feud at SummerSlam.
Most likely. But how will the crowd in Chicago react to Punk coming back and losing to Jericho as a face? Like, won't that kind of turn Jericho as it is? I can't imagine how they're going to react when he comes out there and takes a loss.
But you know what? Jericho's one of those guys that no matter what, people will accept anyone losing to him because he's Chris Jericho. I mean, who in the world hates Chris Jericho? I mean, let's be honest.
Chicago will tonight.
Oh.
Facing Punk.
Touche.
That's as homer as it gets. CM Punk in Chicago, I don't care who you are. Hulk Hogan in his prime. Hulk Hogan in his prime would get booed facing CM Punk in Chicago. I'm sorry. Nobody, not even Jericho, is immune to the kind of hate that is going to get poured down on him.
Yep. Brendan Liggan, your thoughts? What's going to happen with this match?
Oh, well, I think it's just what I say. I think this whole match between Jericho and Punk is going to build towards something greater towards SummerSlam. Having just a one-off match between Punk and Jericho, or a feud between Punk and Jericho for no title, really doesn't make much sense. So I think Punk's going to come out in street clothes, be like, yeah, I mean, I got nothing else to do tonight, but I never agreed to wrestle you. I never agreed. I'm not in any kind of condition to wrestle. I've been sitting on my ass, watching court TV and going to hockey games.
I could see him actually cutting that promo.
Exactly. Like, what are you doing, Paul? You never called me and told me about that. You just assumed I would be here. Then him and go back and forth. Then maybe Brock Lesnar comes out. They start to Brock gives him an F5. Crowd, goes fucking ape shit, and mission accomplished. They're gonna react to as soon as Cult of Personality is. I hope that's still his theme song. I haven't heard that internet rumor that they're gonna change his theme song. I think that's an absolutely dumb idea.
What are they gonna change it to?
Yeah, it's a band he's friends with, a couple of the members.
It's Rancid, okay? It's
Rancid.
not just some band.
It's not just some band. It's Rancid.
Some band. Come on now. You don't know who Rancid is. Fuck out of here.
No.
You fucking make it so.
From what I've gathered, that comment was made sort of tongue-in-cheek style. Like it was more joking. Like, oh, you should make this your theme. Hint, hint. Do it. But
you know, I could see him doing that though, because he always likes to shout out his friends like that. So, and he's definitely, you know, Lars Fredricksson's a huge wrestling fan. So
is he?
Yes, he is.
I never knew that.
Yeah, he's a huge wrestling fan. He comes to shows whenever he can. That Punk's on. So.
Huh.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was at the Money in the Bank in Chicago. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Tony Mango, what do you think is going to happen with Punk versus Jericho?
All right. First things first, I think if you want to have this match happen and not get tons and tons of boos for Chris Jericho, you don't start off with Chris Jericho. You start off with Paul Heyman.
Yeah.
You have him come out and be like, I don't know if we're going to have this match, so-and-so, blah, 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 blah. And then Jericho comes out and he gets a pop because he's kind of like, wait, we want to have this match and all this. And then maybe Punk comes out and it's kind of like, that kind of gets the audience to go, boo, yeah, okay, yeah, we're going to have this match and all that.
Why don't you book? That's very logical. I never even thought of that.
There you go. And then that way you can actually have like that back and forth, boo, yeah, kind of thing that they do in matches. And it doesn't really matter who wins. But I do think we are getting this match, and I do think that nobody is going to turn here. I think that Chris Jericho is coming out on top. He's going to take back the Best in the World moniker, and that's going to be the thing that really starts lowering the humility of CM Punk. I mean, as I said in one of the Bleacher Report articles that I put up, Stage 1 of humanizing Punk is when he lost to The Undertaker. Stage 2 is going to be this. Stage 3 is going to be when Brock Lesnar attacks him. Now, I don't think that's going to be here, but I do think it's going to be right before SummerSlam, right after Money in the Bank.
You know what it could be? We either have Punk and Lesnar 2 at WrestleMania this year, or Punk and Austin, where Punk finally gets his Best in the World tag back.
Well, all right, let's pump the brakes on the Stone Cold talk. Pump the brakes on the Stone Cold talk.
Or maybe he stops being the best in the world and it becomes the world's toughest SOB.
It's the 30th WrestleMania, and it's the last chance to see that match. It's possible. Let's just put it out there.
But you know what? How could you call yourself best in the world if you're? I mean, he is Stone Cold Steve Austin, but how could you call yourself best in the world if you beat a guy that hasn't wrestled in 10 years?
It's going to be 11 by next year, too.
And the Rock hadn't wrestled in 10 years when he came back.
And he beat that Best in the World.
Yeah, I didn't
Rumble.
the whole ideology. I didn't like that.
Burhan, why don't you pick up? What's your thoughts? What's going to happen with Punk versus Jericho?
I'm still going to Jericho heel turn. I would love to see it happen. I think in terms of booking, it would make things a lot. It would give the crowd the reason to hate Jericho. Also give Heyman a nice client to go with. You know, you could say that him and Jericho were in cahoots. They had this plan from the get-go, blah, 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 blah. And it can also lead Punk into a short feud before Lesnar. Because remember, Jericho's not there constantly, but he's still there. You know, he's still there to help elevate guys. And I think having a feud like that between him and Punk, where Jericho ends up defeating Punk and joining Heyman, would be an awesome feud. I think it would help elevate both Heyman and both Punk as well at the same time. In terms of it happening, well, we don't know. But I don't see Punk coming out and cutting a promo and saying, look, you know, I didn't sign up for this, because that's not Punk. That's not what he does. Especially, you know, if you want to appease the fans, you're going to at least get this match out there.
All right, Jester, I know you're the one who's most hoping for Punk to show up, so what do you think is going to happen tonight?
He will absolutely compete in this match. It is almost a guarantee. And
you guarantee it?
I guarantee it. And I could see Jericho winning. It's really hard for me to swallow that idea because it's in Chicago. Anywhere else, I'd almost be 100% sure Jericho was winning. But there's a big thing to be said for crowd reactions and moments and like we said, the lack of build on this show and the need for memorable moments, and having Punk come back and lose to Jericho. Like, if it's not Jericho cheating and turning heel, he loses clean. And how can you come back in Chicago, the best in the world, and lose clean? I mean, if it is the start of the whole humanizing CM Punk thing, I guess that does make sense. You know, even CM Punk can have an off night. That's fine. As long as it leads to a bigger thing down the road, maybe a win over Brock Lesnar, SummerSlam, WrestleMania, whatever, or crossing fingers, Punk and Austin. But I don't know. He may lose. It's really hard to say that he will. I don't know if it's me wanting him to win or just not being sure, but I'm gonna say Punk's definitely there, and he wins. He beats Jericho. Something happens. They can do whatever they're doing to lead to the feud tomorrow night. Can't see him losing in Chicago. Not in the return. Not in the big return.
All right, and lastly for this match, Braeden, your thoughts on Punk versus Jericho?
Yeah, like Jester, I think it's actually going to happen. I expect perhaps one of the best or the best match of the night between these two. They always deliver when they're in the ring against one another. I don't see Punk losing his return match. Since I believe it's happening, I think Punk's gonna win this one. Simple as that. People are gonna get the advertised match that's been advertised as long as the pay-per-view's been basically been hyped for, and yeah, Punk's gonna win in his hometown. I think it doesn't get any more simple than that.
All right, fantastic. We got a caller actually on the line. We have a caller from the 407 area code. Caller from the 407. What's your name and where you're calling from? Caller 407. Hello. I think we got Darth Vader.
I know.
Darth Vader. Who's going to win? CM Punk versus Chris Jericho.
My lord.
All right. Caller from 407, we apologize. Looks like you're having a little technical difficulties getting your call in here. Maybe try calling back. Maybe something just didn't connect properly. Anyone else? We're going to the last match, but if you want to get your thoughts in really quickly, you can call into the show. Area code 760-512-7247. That's area code 760-512-7247. Gentlemen, let's move into the final match we have here to talk about, and that is the 3 Stages of Hell, John Cena versus Ryback. These guys fought last month at Extreme Rules, which ended up going to a no contest when they both went through the stage and both got, well, I guess they didn't even count to 10. They just called the match ended there. Punk will win. Hurt your feelings. You know it to be true.
I was expecting it.
That's good. So this match got put together. Initially, it was just going to be an ambulance match, but John Cena said, no, that's not enough. We have to raise the stakes. And now it's a 3 Stages of Hell. The first fall, a lumberjack match. Second fall, a tables match. And the third fall, the ambulance match that we were originally going to see. I don't even care who wins, honestly. More than likely, it's going to be a John Cena thing where he just hulks up at the end and gets it. I wish I could say I had something more exciting to put into this. This match got me so depressed that I dropped Ryback from my fantasy league team. So I have no...
Well, after that last segment this past Monday, I don't blame you. So...
Yeah, so...
Shut up. Shut up. You'd have shut up.
No.
Gosh.
Okay, Cena wins the lumberjack match. Ryback puts Cena through a table, and then Cena overcomes the odds and puts Ryback into a ambulance, and that's the match. Fun times will be had by all.
That they're gonna turn Ryback's gimmick into him just having Down syndrome. Where I see this going.
Well, Ryback can't cut a promo for shit.
Yeah, I know you can't cut a promo.
I don't know why they didn't put Heyman with Ryback, because Ryback, Ryback is not very exciting, but he has the look, he has the potential, but he just cannot, the guy can't cut a promo at all. I mean, he's boring, he's one-dimensional, he needs something with him, I think putting Heyman, if they put Heyman with Ryback or something, that would really, really benefit Ryback. But yeah, Ryback is just, he's not getting over like they would like as a heel, I'd say. And he's just warming up John Cena for the inevitable versus Randy Orton and Daniel
going on
Bryan.
with his babyface.
Why can't I hear anything?
Well, as a face, in terms of the way that his character's been since, yeah.
Yeah. So let's go around the horn and get thoughts about this match. Oh, that was weird. Anyone else just Brandon got disconnected there.
The Empire screwing us.
Yeah, evidently. Let me get Brandon here. I don't know what just happened there.
They're going to crush Mega Powers with one swift stroke.
And we just lost the caller, too. Oh, Hatch dropped. That was weird. He must have just had internet problems. Right? Brandon, you back? It says you're connected. Oh, well. Anyway, I'm going to go around the horn here, guys. Just give me your quick thoughts about what's going to be going on with this match. I don't think we all have too much to say about it. Braeden, what's your thoughts with it?
As I said, Cena's going to win the lumberjack match, either pinning Ryback off of an AA or making him tap out to the STF. Ryback will powerbomb him through one table, and Cena will stuff him in the back of an ambulance. And that's exactly how it's going to go.
Jester?
Ryback sucks, Cena wins, who cares?
Mr. Burhan?
Cena. I just don't see Ryback coming out of this looking any favourable. They're probably going to give him one win out of this just to make him look like, oh, look, I nearly defeated Cena.
But putting him through a table.
Yeah, in terms of Ryback's character, I'm sick and tired of it. I think they've done a very bad job with someone who could have been a very credible World Heavyweight Champion. Shame on you, WWE.
Yep. Dave?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. That was weird. Darth Vader consumed your soul, yeah.
You were part of the Rebel Alliance and the traitor. They had to get rid of you.
Chris Dace, your thoughts on the 3 stages of hell? Oh, he's gone again.
I think what's going to happen is the lumberjack match will go to Cena because all the faces are going to suck him off and be like, oh, you're so great, let's throw him back in the ring and beat the shit out of Ryback. Then I think Ryback's going to accidentally fall into Cena and then put him through a table. And the American Dream's going to come running down with 2 different bicycles so they can ride bicycles up the stage. Ryback's going to pick up Cena on his shoulders. Pat Patterson's going to come running out, get down one knee, scare the hell out of Ryback because he doesn't know what the hell Pat Patterson's doing. And then Cena's going to push him into an ambulance. Cena wins, retains.
Hey.
All right, Brandon, well, we got you. Your thoughts on the 3 stages of hell? Brandon? He's dead again. Oh, my gosh.
I think that Dave Parade gave Brandon death.
Oh gosh, guys. So that wraps up pretty much all we got to say about Payback. All the matches down. I don't think there's any special things that are really going to come. I think when this is all said and done, we're going to be exactly where we were when this pay-per-view started. Anyone think we're going to be left with anything special that we're going to look back 5 years from now and be like, yep, remember that pay-per-view where that happened?
Absolutely nothing.
The return of
I
our
can't even remember what I did yesterday.
And you know what? We're going to get that whole epic John Cena match that we're supposed to be getting at with this whole thing. 5 years from now, Vince McMahon's going to be like, everybody remembers the 3 stages of hell match. Yeah. That's the thing that got John Cena over.
That being said, I mean, the potential is there. It's not like this is a guaranteed failure of a pay-per-view. The potential is there for this pay-per-view to be good.
But that's just it, though. It's going to be just good to very good. You might get a great show, but it's nothing that's going to be memorable.
Good matches, no moments. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, pretty much. Couldn't have said it better myself.
I think you got the chance where Bryan comes out and makes the tag title match one of the best matches of the night and continues this with the crowd and being in Chicago and his hot streak and everything. And I think that leads to him and his eventual big push. You got the Randy Orton heel turn potential. You got CM Punk's return. Some good things will happen tonight.
Still
will it be the best pay-per-view? No, but I think it'll be a solid pay-per-view.
So Brandon doesn't hear us? Because I can hear you, Brandon.
Still nothing. Can't hear
Brandon,
anything.
are you alive? No, he's gone.
We hear you, Brandon. That's weird. All right, well, we're going to be wrapping up the show anyway. So, guys, let's just do some quick plugs going around the circle. Michael Burhan, you may go first.
Yes. As always, check out my YouTube channel, youtube.com/TheNerdGenius. I've got 3 more vlogs coming up, and I'm going to be also doing vlogs on Evo, which is like the Fighters Tournament thingy. They're going to be debuting a new Killer Instinct there, full with all the characters and etc. Check out my free vids. Check out nerdgenius.com, www.nerdgenius.com, where I talk about wrestling and all other stuff. And also check me out on Smark at my own Smack Talk, and I got gameplay, which is going to be debuting live on the 22nd. Yay!
All right. Beautiful plugs there. Yeah, absolutely tune in. Mega Powers Radio. We are just starting tonight, and we're going to be having shows coming up all week, which I'll get deeper into that schedule as we get towards the end here. I'm going to pass it off now, though, to Chris Jester for what you got to plug.
All right, you guys can follow me on Twitter at @ThatJesterKid. You can like the fantasy wrestling page of the leading team in the Keeping Kayfabe Smark Out Moment Wrestling League. Roman Reigns, Randy Orton, Alberto Del Rio, CM Punk, and that's it. And shout out to Lemon Soup. It's for my friend in Florida. Shout out to Lemon Soup. There you go.
Lemon soup?
Lemon Soup. Shout out to Lemon Soup.
Was that Darth Vader?
It may or may not have been Darth Vader.
Okay. Braeden, what you got to push now?
Just subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/foodbeast for basically a video game-oriented channel. Maybe talk some wrestling in the future. And visit fanboysanonymous.com, which is a website that's for everything geek that most of us here actually contribute to. That it's non-wrestling related, but we talk about basically everything else media. A lot of us contribute that are doing this live pre-show for the pay-per-view here tonight. So check that out as well.
All right, Chris Dace, you got anything you want to throw out there for the people? Any social medias you want people to follow?
You can follow @TheDaceMan on Twitter, and I'm going to Backstreet Boys in August, so that's what I bring to the table.
That's awesome. We'll have to do a live post show for that.
Do you want it that way?
Oh, this isn't Burger King. Oh, we just got word that Sheamus has won the WWE Payback Kickoff show.
Whoa!
Yeah, that'll put butts in seats.
I can't wait for the show. Oh, man. So excited.
No, man, that victory surprised me. I did not see that coming at all. Sandow had him. I mean, he had him on the ropes.
Upset of the year, to be honest. I mean, all the chess and checkers and everything that was leading up to this match, woo!
Really had me in doubt over what the outcome would be.
Yeah.
All right, so Tony, get your plugs going.
All right, guys. As always, fanboysanonymous.com and outonlimbs.com. And Smack Talk, you can find youtube.com/SmarkOutMoment. And, of course, right now, the pay-per-view coverage is starting on SmarkOutMoment.com. You can check that out and chat with us on the sidebar on the website itself. You guys know everything what's going on with this. I don't need to really talk too much about it. See you on the website.
I don't.
Because you're English.
You've been here the longest.
Yeah. All right. So I guess I'll take us out here. Guys, you've just joined us for the first show of Mega Powers Radio here on blogtalkradio.com/Mega Powers Radio. This was our Payback pre-show. We have great programming coming for you all weekend, every week. After Monday Night Raws, we'll have the Monday Night Raw post-game, where we'll be joining live on here. Very same style. We'll run down the show. We'll take your calls and have things going down for that. On Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can join us for Geek Speak, where you will hear Brandon, who unfortunately could not be here right now. But it'll be him talking about all the things geeks love. We'll be talking about comic books. We'll be talking about movies. We'll be talking about Game of Thrones. We'll be talking about whatever type of thing may come up. And who knows what else might get popped up in there. And on Saturdays, we're going to have I Got Gameplay, which is hosted by our very own Michael Burhan here. So you can join us 8 p.m. on Saturday for all talk about video games. I also want to push the two shows that made the show possible. That is my show, Keeping Kayfabe, where wrestling is still real to us. Anybody?
Damn it.
Damn it.
If Brandon couldn't be here to finish it up for me. We are live on Thursdays on blogtalkradio.com/Dream Elite. That's Dream Elite Radio, same website, but a different station. You can also catch us on demand after the fact by searching for us on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, and various other channels. And I also want to thank Anthony, who brought Smark Out Moment to the table, or Smack Talk is actually the name of the show, smarkoutmoment.com, or you can search on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, also for Smack Talk or Smark Out Moment to find that show. I want to thank everyone who joined me here tonight. Thank you, Braeden. Thank you, Brandon. Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Chris Jester. Thank you, Mike Burhan. Thank you, Chris Dace. Thank you, Heavenly Hatch Stevens. I'm Mike Paden. We're going to be heading into WWE Payback coming up in just a few minutes here, about 12 minutes. So thanks, everyone, for listening. We'll see you at the next pay-per-view, possibly tomorrow night, possibly on other shows. Hope you enjoyed yourselves. We'll see you soon.